Let's take a look at what's going on with Dogecoin today, guys. All right, so yesterday, it was looking a little weak, so I took some profits at this red line, sitting at around what is it, .414 approximately. I was saying that we were watching this channel pattern yesterday, basically, and I was saying we had resistance, resistance, support, support, support. We were basically watching these two trend lines, this top and this bottom, and I was saying it's possible that we can continue to stay in this and this will hold support, but we actually broke it going to the downside. So in my opinion, it is looking a little weak right now, and we are technically trending down. We're getting lower highs and then lower lows just on this little area right here, though. I mean, it's still possible that we can hold support at this bottom, this other line that we've also been watching, which is sitting at around .342. But right now we did break this trend line that we were watching as well. So we had support giving me this trend line going to the upside. I was thinking if we can stay above this and get a bounce on it, then maybe we have a better shot of continuing to head up. But we actually broke it going to the downside. So here's some spots that I'm looking at going to the downside. Since we are kind of heading down and it is looking weaker, now I get to show you when we start looking at the Fibonacci retracement. So to use the Fibonacci retracement, usually we have a big run up to get we're looking at a retracement down. So where is it going to go down to, right? So we have a big run up and then we start having trouble at the top, or we start having trouble and we start moving to the downside. So we get the Fibonacci retracement tool, we find the bottom of the run. So the bottom kind of looks like over here, in my opinion, because we have this huge run, something like this. I would say let's get the Fibonacci retracement tool. We're going to drag from the bottom of the run to the top of the run, something like that. So the top was right over here, and then the bottom is somewhere around here, you could argue. Let's go ahead and adjust that, something like that, and then something we could probably delete that line because we aren't worried about it anymore. We kind of broke to the downside of that channel pattern. So yeah, so here's some levels that I'm looking at. So basically we set up the Fibonacci retracement chart from the bottom to the top, so that way we have levels to watch as it goes to the downside. So I like watching the 38% level and the 50% level. I mean, last time when we were in this area, when we had this big run up and then we went down, we actually went all the way down to the bottom. So let's go ahead and do that on over here. We had this big run. We start from the bottom, we go to the top, something like that. We were watching this Fibonacci retracement box for a while, for probably like about a year, it seemed like. So we went up and then we come down and it gives us levels to watch. Like I was saying, we actually came all the way to the bottom, but I like watching the 50% and the 38%. Those are very reasonable targets going down. So let's see. So those are the levels that I'm watching right now. Like I said, I took a little bit of profits over here at 4.414 approximately, and we're already down like 5 or 6%. Let's see, from where that is around 10%, I guess. So the next spots that we're looking at going to the downside, we just broke the red Fibonacci retracement level, the red 23% sitting at .391. So the next level that I'm looking at is a 38 sitting at, let's see, what is this, at .335. So I put a limit order at .335, and then I also put a limit order at the 50% sitting at around .29361 approximately. But those are the next levels that I'm looking at going to the downside. But I was also saying earlier in this video that we have a bottom right here and we have a bottom right here, and that level is sitting at around .340 approximately. So those are the next spots I'm looking at, and this one kind of lines up with that 38% level. Let's see if that comes into play. But we did break the 23% going to the downside, so the next one I'm looking at is the 38. And once we break these going to the downside or going up, then we could look at the next one either going, so like let's say we were down here and we broke this one going up. Then the next one, once we break this one going up, then I would look at the next one going up, the next Fibonacci retracement level going to the upside, but when we break it going to the downside, like we just broke this one going down, then I would look at the next Fibonacci retracement level going down. So this is the next one, the 38%. If we broke this one going down, next one I'd be looking at is the 50%. Like I was saying at the beginning, 38 and the 50% are like my favorite levels to watch. Sometimes even the 61% is good too, but those are the next ones going to the downside. And let me put some price labels on there just so you can kind of see. Let's see, price label, something like that, and then another one right here. So those are the next two levels I'm looking at, .335, .293, going to the downside as long as we're going down. Let's go ahead and remove this trend line. We haven't broken this one yet, so we'll let that one chill for now. We're still kind of seeing if this one is going to hold support. We are trending down. Let's see if that holds support and we get a bounce to there. But the other thing I want to watch, since we're kind of trending down and we're making lower highs, we have lower high. I mean, not a lower high. This one's actually a higher high. We have a high, 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 high. These are trending down, and then we have low, low, trending down. So basically what I'm watching right now is the top. Because we're trending down, we're going to watch the top. Once we break the top, like if we come down here, actually break through it or go sideways, then that's a signal that we might be changing direction. But right now we are clearly trending downside in the shorter time frame. I mean, if you zoom out, we are technically still in kind of we still are in an uptrend, because also this. So we had low, low, low. If we can bounce right here, then it's still technically a higher low. But if we break this spot right here going to the downside, then it technically is a lower low than before, which means that we would be technically kind of changing direction, but we would still want to watch this downtrend right here. Once we break that going to the upside, I don't know where it's going to do it. It could, come down here, get a bounce, and then break to the upside. But we are watching this trend line. Once we do break that one, then we can get more confident on it going back to the upside. Until then, we are technically in this smaller downtrend. Let's see what happens when we meet this level right here, where we have this bottom and this bottom. Those are pretty much the things that I'm looking at, though. The Fibonacci retracement chart or tool is very handy in these kind of situations where we think we might have topped out, not topped out, but we had a big run. Now we need to cool off, get some consolidation, and just cool off in general and head to the downside a little bit. But yeah, the 38% level sitting at .335 is the next level that I'm watching. And if we break that one going downside, to the downside, then the next spot that I'd be looking at is .293, and then same if we just continue to move down, then these are the next spots that I'd be looking at as well. I'm not sure how far it's going to go down, but these are spots that I'd be looking at going to the downside. Like I said, I took a little bit of profit right here, now putting limit orders down here, and that's kind of the point of the Fibonacci retracement in general. I mean, you could also use it as the in reverse to see like dead cat bounces, but in this situation, big run up. Let's see how far it's gonna go down, basically. So yeah, that's basically what I'm looking at on Dogecoin right now. Let's take a look at Dogecoin and Bitcoin and see how that's performing. We're still above this previous resistance right here. I've been talking about this on this channel for a while. If we go to the daily time frame, these lines right here, these lines are previous resistances from the past. So we had resistance right here giving me this line, we had resistance right here giving me this line, resistance right here giving me this line, and right here resistance right here giving me this line. Basically, once we break these resistance lines, then we can get more confident on the price of Dogecoin. If this chart is going down, then it's good for Bitcoin. If it's going up, then it's good for Dogecoin. And if we're breaking resistances going to the upside, then that's also good for Dogecoin. But I've been looking at this on this channel for a while. So we have this previous resistance right here. Let's go back to like the 1 hour or 4 hour time frame. Let's check out the 4 hour time frame. It's a little more clean. Okay, so we came down. Instead of it being resistance like it was previously, now it's acting as support. Since we broke above it, now it's acting as support. Whoops. Let's go back to the 4 hour time frame. Okay, my thing froze. But okay, so like I was saying, um, what is going on here? So we have, let me refresh this. We have these lines right here that were previous resistance. Now they're acting as support. Let's see. Let's go back to the 4-hour time frame. Hopefully it doesn't freeze. Okay, so we came down, found support, got a bounce up, resistance, found support again, bounce to the upside. Looks like we're coming back down to test that support again. Let's go ahead. Okay, so yeah, instead of it acting as resistance, now that we're on top of it, it's acting as support. So let's see what happens when we come down here. Are we going to get a bounce to the upside, or are we going to fall through and see what happens with the next one? Kind of like the Fibonacci retracement levels. If we break this one going to the downside, the next spot that I'll be looking at is that next previous support, or previous resistance, should I say, going to the downside. If we break that one going down, the next spot that I'll be looking at is going down here. I'm not really too concerned about like the numbers over here, like the targets, but we're basically watching this chart for momentum. So like I was saying, if we break resistances, we also have a resistance right here, resistance. If we could break that resistance going to the upside, then that's good for Dogecoin. If we break the supports going to the downside, then that's not good for Dogecoin, and that actually makes more of a bearish case. So let's say we were breaking this one going to the downside right now. That would give me more confidence that we are going down as opposed to going up. If we start breaking the resistances going to the upside, or even, let's see, watch, that's because we're technically trending down too. Let me delete this line right here, but because we are going to use something like that, let's go ahead and delete this one as well, because we, just like on Dogecoin, we have resistance. Basically we're trending down right now. So let's go ahead and draw a line, something like this. If we could break this resistance going to the upside, then we could get more confident. If we break it more, confident on going to the upside, should I say. If we break it, if we continue to trend down and we break this support, where we had support giving us this trend line, then if we break it going down, then that gives us more confidence on targets going to the downside. Hopefully that makes sense. Like I said, this is Dogecoin compared to Bitcoin. So if this chart is going up, then it's good for Bitcoin. If this chart is going down, then it's good for... No. I'm sorry. I had that opposite. If it's going down, then it's good for Bitcoin. If it's going up, then it's good for Dogecoin. So this chart is going down, which means that it's good for Bitcoin. Let's go ahead and take a look at Bitcoin. And it doesn't mean that Bitcoin's performing crazy, because Bitcoin looks like it's getting a little correction as well. So we had... let's go to like the daily time frame and see what this looks like. We actually broke the 9 moving average on the daily yesterday and too. And this is another reason why I was kind of thinking that it's looking a little weak and maybe to take some profits, because I like watching the 9 moving average on this channel, which is basically the 9 moving average is this blue line right here. When we're above it, like when we break above it, like we did right here, then when we come into contact with it, it gives us support and bounces us to the upside. When we break below it, like we did right here, then it's going to give us some trouble, and we're going to have to break back above it before we can start getting bullish again. Because when we're below it, let me find a good example of it. Let's go ahead and zoom in, maybe something like right here. This was kind of a good example. We broke below it right here, so we have the 9 moving average right here. The price broke below it right here, and ever since then we're coming into contact with it and getting rejected, pushing us to the downside. So when we're below it, then it's more than likely going to reject us. It's going to give us trouble basically, and push us down until we can break above it and stay above it. Right here we broke above it, but we couldn't hold it, broke back below it and pushed to the downside. Right here we broke back above it and got green candles, closed these candles, and was able to get support on it and push to the upside. Right here we tested it, testing, and that's why, when we start testing it, that's not a great sign. It's not like the worst sign, but it's a signal that it might be starting to break. That once we start testing it, I'd rather be testing, I'd rather be way above it and just clearly above it than start to test it, because once we start testing it, then it's possible that we break through it. And then, like I said, once we're below it, then it kind of it gives us trouble and pushes us down. right here, broke above it. So you kind of get what I'm saying. It's kind of like resistance and support. When we're above it, it gives us support. When we're below it, it gives us resistance. Right here on the daily time frame, yesterday's candle, we closed this candle below the 9 moving average, and we're still below it technically right now. So that was another reason why I was like, maybe we're going to get a correction. Corrections aren't really a bad thing. You just kind of have to know where to get back in, and that's where the Fibonacci retracement chart comes from. So let's see. I mean, technically, I guess technically we could probably set up the Fibonacci retracement from on Bitcoin from this bottom down here to the top. You could also probably argue that you could drag it down here, but I'm just going to look at this recent price action right here, where this was kind of the bottom of this run, and then here's kind of the top of the run for now. So let's see. So we get the Fibonacci retracement tool, we drag from the bottom to the top, and then that gives us levels to maybe think that it gives us levels to watch for a possible bounce. So the 23% level is sitting at around 80,031, and the 38% level is 60,000. I'm not really sure how far it's going to go down. The other thing too is once we break, same thing with like the resistances. We have resistance giving us this trend line. Let's see if it comes down kind of like on the Dogecoin and Bitcoin chart. And then instead of it being previous resistance like it did in the past, maybe it'll come down and get support. And this is where we'll get the bounce. This is sitting at around 74,000 approximately. Check it out on TradingView. Set up an account, set up the watch list, and check out, create a chart and kind of look at it on your own, should I say. But right now, like I said, we did break the 9 moving average, which is a bearish signal, kind of. At least it seems like we're getting a correction. Maybe we'll come down to the red level. Maybe we'll come down to that previous resistance. But it does look like we're trending down. Let's go back to like the 4-hour time frame. I was also watching something like this. We had, let's see. So we had resistance. Let's see, where is it? Resistance giving me this trend line, and then we had support giving me this trend line. I was hoping that we can stay in this little channel pattern, something like this, and then maybe break to the upside, but we broke that trend line going down. We also had support giving me this trend line. We broke this trend line going down. Those two breaks to the downside were signals, in my opinion, that we're getting a little correction. So let's see how far it goes down. This is just my opinion and what I'm looking at and what I'm thinking. Let me know what you guys are thinking in the comments, if you agree or disagree, or what you guys are thinking. Because I'm genuinely curious. It's kind of nice hearing what you guys have to say and kind of bouncing my ideas off that. But yeah, we are trending down technically. If we could break this trend line going to the upside, then we can start changing. Then we can get a little more skeptical on the downside targets. But until then, we are under this trend line, and it is giving us trouble. Same with the 9 moving average on the 4-hour and on the daily. Let's take a look at the weekly. The weekly is sitting over here close to the previous resistance line. So we have this resistance line that I was mentioning. On the weekly time frame, the 9 moving average is right here. It looks like that kind of lines up pretty close with that previous resistance. Let's see, like I was saying, when we're on top of the 9 moving average, when we come into contact with it, sometimes it'll give us a bounce, and maybe that's where we can bounce on, is that 9 moving average sitting right here. Hopefully you guys can see it. But yeah, so maybe this is where we'll bounce to. Maybe that weekly 9 moving average will come into contact. But I think the name of the game right now is, at least on Dogecoin, is I took a little bit of profits. Now it's time to reaccumulate. And where can we reaccumulate? Where can we kind of try to dollar cost average back into? Because if, like, we could just, we took profits, so where do we get back in, right? I mean, we don't want to just completely give up on Dogecoin, even if we do take. I mean, I don't want to give up on Dogecoin, even if I do take some profits. I want to get back in. So where are the next levels at? The Fibonacci retracement levels are the levels that are. That's what kind of guides me on where to get back in once we start kind of seeing a dip. Is it possible that it goes lower than these levels? Absolutely, but at least we're not just. At least we have areas to shoot for. And they do come into the Fibonacci levels do come into play very often. So let's see if they do now. We'll kind of wait and see. You guys can you guys can kind of follow along and see. And if you're not subscribed, click the subscribe button if you like these videos to follow along. But yeah, let's see what else we got. We talked about Dogecoin, compared to Bitcoin, talked about Bitcoin. Let's see what's up with Ethereum real quick. Ethereum looked like it was bouncing pretty decently, but it also looks like it might be getting a little correction as well. I mean, let's see. So we have support, something like this, and then we have a top, something like this. Let me just do some quick technical analysis. All right, so here's what I'm looking at on Ethereum. We haven't broke this trend line quite yet, but let's see what happens. We have support giving me this trend line. Technically, we're trending up. We have resistance, and technically it's giving us some trouble in this area right around 3,425. If it can break this going to the upside, then we can get more bullish. If it breaks this going to the downside, then we can start getting more confident on targets going to the downside. And if we zoom out, we're still in this Fibonacci retracement. We never broke the top of this one because we had this huge run up and then we started trending down. Ever since then, I set up the Fibonacci retracement tool from the bottom of the run to the top of the run, and that gave me levels to watch. We came all the way down to the 78% level from the top, all the way back down here. After we hit that 78% level, like pretty much right on the nose, came down, hit it once, came up. This Fibonacci level acted as resistance, came down, hit it again, came up. This one came into play again, acted as resistance, gave us a little bit of trouble, went kind of sideways, but then we were able to break through it. So then, the 38% came into play, bounced to the upside, bounced again on that 38%, found support on the 50% right here, sitting at around 2,531. We were chilling in this area, kind of going sideways right on that 50% level, got a bounce to the upside. So basically, like at the beginning, like I was saying, if we break these levels going to the downside, or if we break these Fibonacci retracement levels going to the downside or to the upside, then we could get more confident on it going to the next one. Right now, technically, we're in between the 38 and the 23. You would think that it would have kind of went up to the 23, but it looks like we're having some trouble. So until we break this line right here, then we're not, I don't know. We have to wait for it to either break this line or this support line right here, this resistance or support. And right now, it does look like it's testing the support, and Bitcoin, like I just showed you, broke that daily 9 moving average. On the daily 9 moving average right here, we're still technically above that 9 moving average, which is good. But if we break it going to the downside, then we could get more confident on the targets going down. The 38% level is sitting at around 3,088. The next one, the 50%, is sitting at around 2,513. So let's say we break this trend line going to the downside. The next spots that I'd be looking at, and it kind of lines up with this support right here, is 3,088. And then 2,530 or whatever, approximately somewhere around there. Check it out on your own chart. But we are testing it right now. Let's see if it breaks to the downside and we start kind of coming back down. That's Ethereum. A lot of like I was telling you, go to TradingView, set up a watch list. If you check out the percentages on the cryptos that I've been watching, everything's pretty much in the red right now. Let's see what's the biggest loser right now. Dogecoin's down 4.5%. Let's see what else. Is that the biggest one? It seems like the biggest one so far. DOT's down 4.3%. Cardano's down 4%. Polkadot's down 4.6%. And Doge is the leader of what's kind of pushing to the downside, which is kind of a good thing. You know what I mean? That's why we watch Doge, though, is because Doge, when it goes up, a lot of the times it outperforms a lot of these other ones. If it's going down, it's outperforming a lot of these other ones going to the downside too, which is a good sign. So a good thing, because if you know where to take profits at and then it pushes down super hardcore, then we can buy back, and then when it starts pushing back up hardcore, then we can take advantage of that, or we can profit off that. So yeah, same thing with Dogecoin. Actually, I didn't mention this when we were talking about Dogecoin, and we're back on Dogecoin right now, but we're looking at the 9 moving average right here on the daily time frame. That's one of the most important time frames for the 9 moving average, in my opinion, or that's the one that I really like to look at. We broke above the daily 9 moving average right here. Actually, we broke above it like right here. Ever since then, maybe even over here, we were getting support on it. We broke through it a little bit right here, but still got support on it. Bounced to the upside. Came through it right here, or we came down, tested it, broke through it, but found support, bounced to the upside, and hardcore. Right here, we were just getting support on it, bouncing hardcore to the upside. Right here, we tested it, got a bounce to the upside. And this was also a reason why I was thinking that flag target was still into play, because we got support on that 9 moving average and we bounced to the upside. I thought for sure that we were going to be heading up to like 0.64 or, somewhere around there. But I got faked out and wasn't able to take complete perfect advantage of this, because I was targeting a little bit up here. I was saying that if it comes up over here, this is where I wanted to take profits, and I got a little greedy. I thought it was going to go higher. But so yeah, once it started kind of trending down, I was like, okay, maybe it's going to get a correction and maybe I should just kind of take some profits. So that's what I did. And now we're looking at targets going to the downside. And if we go back to like that 4 hour, like I said, we're also watching this resistance right here. Resistance, 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 giving us a downtrend. If we could break that downtrend going to the upside, then I'm going to be a little less confident on these limit orders that I have sitting down here, sitting at around 0.335 and 0.293 approximately. Those are the next spots that I'm looking at. I have buy limit orders at those spots, the 38 and the 50% going to the downside. Let's see how far it can go. So yeah, but like I said, corrections in general are pretty healthy. I mean, we don't want to just run up forever. I mean, I guess we could. I guess we do kind of want to do that. But when we get corrections, then it's going to be healthy for us to maybe do the next leg to the upside or something like that. I mean, it's possible that we do something like that. I mean, look at what happened over here too. We had a big run up. We came down, corrected all the way down to pretty much the bottom of the run, and then after that we started flying. So maybe, I don't know how far it's going to go down. It could just go, I mean, it really depends. It could hit the 38% level and then bounce back to the upside and break the top, or it could go down the 50% level, then start going back up. Could go all the way back down over here or over here. But these levels give us an idea of where it's kind of possible, so we're not just kind of, guessing in the dark over here. It kind of gives us a little bit of an idea on the next steps going to the downside and where it could possibly go. We don't know where it's going to start breaking up. That's also why we're watching the trends, because if we break this trend, let's say this line keeps going down. Let's drag this line out a little bit further, something like that. So as long as we're underneath this line, we can count on it to give us trouble and continue to push us down, and that's why we look at these lines. If we start breaking this trend line going to the upside though, then I'm going to start getting I'm going to start getting less confident on these targets going to the downside though. So we have this trend line. Let's say we break it going up right here, then I'm going to be less confident on those limit orders. If we start really pushing up and start breaking the top, then I'm going to be extremely not confident on these limit orders anymore. But until we do, then these are the spots that I'm looking at, and these are the limit orders that I have set. I think that about does it in this video though. Let me know what you guys are thinking. If you guys like the video, hit that thumbs up button. If you guys like these videos, hit the subscribe button. And if you want to watch the last video, check it out right here. If you want to watch this, if you're new to trading and you're new to trading, check out this playlist right here. It'll help you get you started with TradingView. All right. If you guys like the video, hit that thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in the next one.